Hello, this is Attorney Brian Pendergraft with the Pendergraft firm. And the question for today's video is, what is the difference between a living trust and a land trust? And if you have any questions that you would like considered for my hashtag AskAttorneyP series, you can let me know by just clicking the link in the description and asking your own question. Or if you're looking at this from perhaps you see this from like maybe a Facebook post or something, then I should have a link in the post where you can click on that link and you can send a question that you would like considered. But that said, I have to send first I have to give you guys a quick disclaimer. This is legal information. This is not legal advice. So for legal advice, you can contact a real estate attorney that is licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction. And also, if you could gavel that like and subscribe button, I would appreciate that. And another thing, man. And if that jurisdiction just happens to be Maryland or DC, then you can holler at me. Anyway, so let me repeat the question really quickly. So what is the difference between a living trust and a land trust? So I'm going to start with a short answer. So I'm warning you that short answer is probably not going to make any sense, but it may sound like I'm throwing a bunch of vocabulary words at you, but I promise I'm going to clean this up with the long answer. And I'm going to try to really highlight the differences. So just strap in and trust me. And here we go. So in both living trust and land trust, a trustee holds property for the benefit of the beneficiary in accordance with the terms of a trust agreement. So depending on the type of trust you choose, the trustee's interest in the property is treated differently, and the beneficiary's interest in the property is defined differently. So this causes living trust and land trust to be treated differently, at least in jurisdictions that recognize land trust. So again, that's the short answer. But, and again, I don't think that it's very helpful. But before I can give you guys a long answer, I'm going to need to define some legal terms to just sort of lay a foundation. So let's get into these definitions, and hopefully they'll help you better understand what a trust is in general, too. So kind of killing two birds with one stone here. So what is a trustee? A trustee is a person who manages assets on behalf of a beneficiary. What is a beneficiary? Beneficiary is a person who benefits from the trust assets. What is a trust agreement? A trust agreement is a contract between the trustee and a beneficiary that basically tells the trustee what they have to do. What is legal title to property? That is legal title or actual ownership of the land. Let's call it that. What is equitable title to property? That is a beneficial interest in the land. What is personal property? Think chattel, such as cell phones and think cell phones or anything. I don't know, like this soda here, I guess, personal property. What is real property? Think fixed property, such as houses, apartments, condos, land, etc. What is a living trust? So living trusts are generally used to hold real estate and personal property. What is a land trust? So land trusts are generally used to hold just real estate. And my last definition I have here is, what is jurisdiction? So think states. And for the purposes of this discussion, think some states or jurisdictions recognize land trusts while others do not. So now let's get into the long answer. So first I want to explore the similarities between the two. So in a living trust and a land trust, so they're essentially a contract between a trustee and a beneficiary that requires the trustee to manage the assets on behalf of the beneficiary. So on the surface, they function very similarly. So the beneficiaries get the benefit of the asset. So they may live in a house, in which case the benefit is living in the house, or perhaps they're having the house, having the trustee rent the property, in which case their benefit will be, I guess, the proceeds from the renting of the property, so the rent money. So and the trustee has to perform the duties as outlined in the trust agreement. So in land trust, the trustee's duties are generally limited to more ministerial tasks, such as signing legal documents and things of that nature. So in living trust, the duties of the trustee generally entail stewardship and more managing the assets. So this is because in land trust, it's common to use an attorney as trustee, whereas with living trust, the trustee is often the beneficiary or someone taking care of the beneficiary. So there tends to be a more stewardship type role in living trust. So now on to the major differences between a living trust and a land trust. So as I stated in my definitions, land trusts are used to hold generally to hold just real property, but living trusts can hold both real and personal property. But to illustrate the difference between the two, for the purpose of this explanation, we're going to be using a living trust that is holding just land. It's like the just like the land trust. So we have a nice equal comparison. So in a living trust, the trustee holds legal title to the land and the beneficiary holds equitable title. And the beneficiary's interest in the property is considered real property. So that is a living trust. And in a land trust, the trustee holds both legal and equitable title to the land, and the beneficiary does not hold any title, but their right in the property is considered personal property. So let me highlight those differences just in case you did not catch it. So in a living trust, the trustee holds just legal title. In a land trust, the trustee holds legal and equitable title. In a living trust, the beneficiary holds equitable title. And the interest and the beneficiary's interest in the property is considered real property. In a land trust, the beneficiary does not hold legal or equitable title. And their interest, and remember that is held by the that is held by the trustee, both titles. But the interest of the beneficiary, the beneficiary's interest in the property is considered, in the land trust, is considered personal property. So this supposedly, more on that later, gives land trust some benefits over living trust. And the main benefit, at least from what I surmise, is that comes from the beneficiary's interests being considered personal property and not real property. So what does that do? All right. So what are, I guess, the advantages of an interest being considered personal property and not real property? So here's a few of them. So if the interest is considered personal property, then judgments against the beneficiary of a land trust, they cannot create liens on the property because it's considered personal property. It's not considered land property. So again, this is because the interest is considered personal property and not real property. So another benefit would be, let's say, if a beneficiary dies in the land trust and they do not pay death taxes, then those taxes should not create a lien on the property that must be paid off before the property is sold. Because again, that is because the beneficiary's interest is defined as personal property and not defined as real property. So that said, living trusts tend to be more flexible than land trusts. Also, in jurisdictions that don't recognize land trusts, they'll most likely not have those benefits. They'll not have those purported benefits that land trusts supposedly have. The jurisdiction does not have a statute that actually recognizes land trusts, and very few jurisdictions actually do recognize land trusts. But in the few that do, I think that it is a great tool. That said, I primarily practice law in Maryland, and land trusts are not legally recognized here. So for that reason, I typically don't recommend land trusts to my clients because I don't want to sell them on benefits that they're not really getting, or at least I don't think that as long as it's not recognized in law, then I don't think that we'll actually get those benefits when push comes to shove. So for that reason, I tend to recommend more standard trust instruments. However, if you're in a jurisdiction that recognizes land trusts, I do think that that may very well be the way to go. But talk to an attorney that's licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction, and they'll be more able to tell you about those benefits. So that is the major differences between a living trust and a land trust. And again, to simplify things, the interest of the trustee and the beneficiary is a little different. That is all. So if you have any questions that you would like to be considered for my Ask Attorney P series, you can let me know by just clicking on the link in the description. And don't forget to gavel that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching. All right, take care.